Morning, everybody. Hey, good to see everybody. We got
Morning.
Reenie, Joanne, and Shore here today. Excellent. So we're going to have a great time this morning. We want to say hi to our YouTube audience and thank them for joining us in the sacred energy of Circle today. Today, you're going to be able to watch our evidential mediums as they connect with spirit and bring in loved ones for people who have crossed over to the other side. But right now, we're going to start off. I'm going to ask you to join us with a prayer. If everyone would join me, please. Holy Father, Mother God, thank you for allowing us to come together today in service of spirit. Please help us to open all of our senses, physical and spiritual, so that we can receive your messages without interference from our own minds. We humbly ask that you make this circle an uplifting and joyous experience for everyone in attendance. Please ask the spirits who recognize the voices in this room to join us this morning so that we will know that they watch over us, love us, and protect us still. And please allow us to deliver the information presented by Spirit with grace and compassion, in complete trust and respect of your infinite wisdom. Amen. All right, and I think we can go, let's say, 10 minutes each, I think is probably good. That'll leave us time for discussion. And whenever anybody gets a link, just hop on in there. Okay.
I'm going to step in. I have a woman here, and she's showing me the music to Joy to the World. I also can hear piano music. I don't know if she played piano or someone around her plays piano, but she's showing me the music to Joy to the World. I feel like Christmas was a very special time to her. She's showing me like sparkling stars and just like the magic of Christmas. Being around her, she created the magic in Christmas. Um, just real down to earth woman. She looks like smaller stature, dark hair. Um, and I'm going to stop there and see if anyone understands this so far.
I am listening to this.
Okay. What would you understand so far, Carol?
I understand a woman who was smaller in stature who was very much into Christmas.
Okay. Would you know her to play piano or someone around her to play piano?
Yeah, she played piano. I forgot
Okay.
that.
Okay, then that's what. Then can I continue to work with you, Carol?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. She is just so into Christmas. It's just like she's just has all these like sparkling stars around her. She just keeps talking about the magic of Christmas, the magic of Christmas. And I know we're only weeks away from it, and Spirit usually gets really excited during that time. But she is just overwhelmed. She's shown me with angels, with banners, saying joy to the world. She's shown me snowfall and she's just so excited. She's bringing me to a tree now, and she's showing me a small, like, little nativity set. It looks like it's old, so it looks like it's been handed down for years and put back up. Would you understand a small, like, nativity set underneath a tree?
I don't remember.
Okay. And this could also be on a table because she's showing me like almost like she's like half crouched down, like looking at it. You can see the little statues in it. They look worn. The wood looks worn on the barn of it. Um I feel like she also enjoyed a real Christmas tree too. Would you understand her having someone cut a real Christmas tree and bring it for her?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, she's talking about that. Um And I'm seeing a lot of snow. So, like, they were trudging through snow too when they got this tree. Would you understand that?
Yeah.
She was just, and then she would also go out onto the porch and she would greet them. She would just be so excited. She couldn't wait to get this tree in and start decorating it. Um, Let me see what else she has to say here. She's talking about hot chocolate. Um, she would make hot chocolate. She would serve the hot chocolate. Um, she also has shown me tea, little cups of tea. I don't know if you remember the little cups of tea, but she has
I understand that.
um almost like a special blend or some type of special thing she did for Christmas with the little cups and the tea for Christmas too. Um, she's also shown me a fireplace. Would you understand a fireplace? Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
okay. Um, and she's showing them gathering around the fireplace, warming themselves up, and she's just saying how grateful she was to have this fireplace, to have wood. Um, I feel like there was also some young men around her that would gather wood too, so they always had a wood pile that she could depend on in this house. Um, she showed me hard, old, like wooden floors. Would you understand wooden floors?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She's showing that. And these were bare wooden floors, and she's showing me sweeping these floors. And she was the house was clean, even though the floors were bare and there wasn't a lot of novelty like into the house or knickknacks and stuff like that. Things were neat and clean, and she was always sweeping the floor. She showed me like she liked the floor clean. Like the old saying goes, they were clean enough to eat off of. And she's
Yeah, yeah.
proud about that. She's proud of her wooden floors. Um, um, she's showing me a window in the kitchen that looks outside. And at times she would stand by this window and look outdoors. Do you remember a window in the kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
She
Hmm.
would stand by and she would look out. Um, she says her fondest memories were getting up early in the morning and just looking out as the day would begin. Um, that was some of her favorite time. She would sit at the table. She would look out the window. She would have tea. She liked tea. Um,
Yeah.
she's also shown me like little sprigs of pine. I feel like she took some of these pine branches from the tree and she would put them in the kitchen or on a shelf here and there, just to add to the essence of Christmas around her.
That makes sense.
I mean, it smells wonderful in there between like the teas and the cinnamon and the pine. It smells wonderful. Um, she's also bringing up about a coat and a like a mop, like you stick your hands in to keep warm. Would you remember that? She's showing me that.
I had one of those.
Okay, maybe that's what she's talking about. She's
Yeah.
showing me like putting your hands in the mop
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and to stay warm. Um, Wow, that was out there. Wow, I'm like, um, and then she showed me just putting the hands in its mouth. Um, oh, she's getting real emotional about that. Would this be mom or grandma to you?
Mom.
Because she showed me just like coming behind you as a child. You bundled up your hands in this muff, and she's coming up behind you and just wrapping you with the biggest hug and saying, during this holiday season, she wants you to feel that warmth. Like when you were a child and you were in that warm coat and that muff, she wants you to feel that love. And she's just giving me goosebumps like crazy that she just wants you to know that she is so close by. She wants you to hang something special for her for Christmas. Um, Put a
I'll do that.
stocking up with her with mom on it or do something special to acknowledge her because she wants you to know she is just filled with so much love for this holiday and for you, and she just wants you to feel her love all around you. um she said you would just glow like if she bundled you up and she would send you out in the snow to play. She said she knew you were warm. She knew you were protected. And she, above all, she knows that you are loved. you are truly loved. And she's smiling down on your life. She's happy with your life. She's happy with she's saying the man in her life. I feel like she really likes your husband too. But it's
Funny.
like smiling on him. She's down here, and I know your husband's tall, but she's like looking up and just
Yeah, yeah,
looking
yeah.
up, But she's like, give him kudos too. She said,
Okay.
it's the holidays. You gotta love everybody at the holidays, she's saying. So she's just so joyful. I hate to let her go. She's just so sweet. And she's just showing me like a plaid, I don't know, um, a scarf or something that she had. She's showing me this plaid, and she's turning as she walks away, and she's just leaving you with all her love. And she said, ring a bell for good luck and have fun during the holidays. And I'm going to leave that with love and light and thank her for coming in. She was
Oh, Renee. Oh
beautiful.
my gosh, that was just
Oh,
too
it's going to make
beautiful.
me cry. She is so sweet. Oh my gosh, she's going to make me cry.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that was my mom. Okay, but
Oh,
what was interesting about that, and I want to make this a talking point for our YouTube people. Okay, and that she was actually giving you details of her childhood. Okay,
oh.
and Christmas time, and it was funny because like when obviously when she was alive, she was very much into Christmas, and she just made Christmas for us because she
Oh,
had so much joy and so much energy. And I have to say that, like, we were probably over the top stupid with things that we did. Like, we would do things like wrap a little box that was that big around,
uh-huh.
okay, with something that cost like $2 and put like $5 worth of wrapping paper on it. You know what I mean? To make people think that it was really fabulous. But
Oh,
we would put so much effort into like wrapping packages and making them look beautiful and things. And I'll
oh,
tell you honestly, that's the one thing I really miss about my mom, because nobody in my family has that Christmas spirit anymore. And
oh,
it's funny because, like, I've tried, I've tried, and not only do I not get participation, I actually get pushback. And it's like, and it's like so depressing, because I think about all those wonderful, wonderful Christmases that we had together. And like she was talking about her childhood home with the wooden floors
oh,
and, decorated in the pine and things like that,
oh,
in the wood pile, things like that. Our house did not have a fireplace, but they had, a fireplace and they did that.
oh,
But that was, I think, such an unusual reading because it other than the comment about my husband, which I'm not sure I'm going to tell him because he doesn't believe in this, but
he
maybe I should
likes
make
it.
him watch this afterwards. I don't know. But
Days you love everybody.
yeah, but other than that, it was like that that was all like stories about her childhood and more like a conversation, you know. And so I was thinking about this and I thought, my goodness, what would happen if somebody who had never had a reading before received a reading like that? Would they be able to understand it?
Wow. I
You
would
know,
hope so. I would.
well,
Yeah.
it's very, very evidential, but like I'm thinking in terms of like expectations
Right,
from first
right,
time sitters. Okay.
right.
Like I'm just wondering if like they would be kind of knocked for a loop, you know, with that kind of information. Like I loved it because my mother has come into me many times, and I'm used to her, and so I am probably past this point where I have expectations about what I think she's going to say, and I just let her talk to listen to her. Okay.
Uh,
But I'm thinking, and I'll throw this out to everybody, but let's start with you, Rainey. How do you think a first time sitter would react to something, a reading like that?
They might be disappointed because they might be wanting like current things that are going on,
That's what I'm
new
wondering.
things. I
Yeah.
think the older people get a bigger kick out of that because they remember those things. Like me and you would remember those things because we're
Mhm.
older. And that would be special to us because if she was saying those, I could relate it to my mom and how special she would try to make the holidays. And I still try to do that, even though there's no one around me. Do it for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just pull out little things and just get excited as I'm looking at it. So as she was saying this, and I was going through the house with her, I could see this and I could just feel the excitement and the love that she had. And it was just, I didn't want to let her go.
Yeah.
Like, come to my house for Christmas, I'd get joy out of you. Yeah, it was fun, but some of the younger people, I don't think they would enjoy it as much,
Yeah,
as we,
I wondered about that, and I thought how
yeah.
sad because that was so beautiful, and that brought me so much
Yeah.
joy, you know. Um,
A little gift like we would have dollar store gifts, but then we would go and buy all this beautiful wrapping paper and bags and wrap it all. And the gift was only $1 or two, but like you said, you had all this wrapping on it. It was like $5 or more for the wrapping, you know.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, you
Um,
know. Oh, that was beautiful. All right. Well, Joanne, what do you think about that? How do you think a first time, uh, you know, meet a first time sitter might look at a reading with content like that?
Well, I think first, Renee, that was beautiful. And
yeah.
how
I
you
thought so too.
unfolded the story and
Mhm.
how, because I really do believe, though, to the core that when the person shows up to the medium, Spirit always knows what that sitter needs to hear, and that will come forward. And I know as practicing mediums, it's another level entirely. And I think Spirit understands that as well. I don't know, I think that's my take on it. Like, I think we can elevate to another level in delivering information.
Well, you think we get better readings because we're
Yes.
mediums?
I do. I do
I
because,
think that
yes,
too.
I
I
do because we're open and
yeah.
yeah, we're open to, and we're not questioning every little bit of it. Yes, I do believe. Yeah.
Boy, that's a good point. That's a good point,
Yeah,
Joanne.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
to not sit here and say, "Well, why would she be saying something like that?" Just shut
Hmm.
up and listen, to what they have to say. Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, wait, how do you feel about it? Sure. What do you think about a reading like that with a first time sitter?
Yeah, it all depends on how much the sitter is open to reading, and as long as they're not attached or to some specific information coming, uh, then they will get what is needed, not what they want.
Right.
Ah,
The
okay,
showing of love is just a tremendous thing to show the presence of eternity. Um,
okay, all right.
Oh,
so,
I love what Sure said, what
Mhm.
the sitter needs,
Mhm.
not what the sitter wants.
Right,
That happens a lot.
right,
Yes.
yeah.
Hmm.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good point too. Okay. Well, and maybe we'll see more of that develop as the day goes on or as on future sessions, but we'll kind of keep that one in our pocket and see how it goes. All right. Well, nice job, Rini. Joanne or Shore, who's feeling it?
I can go.
Joanne, thank you.
It's interesting. I think I'm with you, sure, but I'm not quite sure. Let's see. I'm not, well, I don't mean to, play on your name, but anyway. Um, what's interesting is with you, sure, it, the presence I'm getting behind me, I'm getting like masters, like robed and then I see your mother like kneeling down and I think she would worship differently than you. I feel that these, okay, and this is what's so interesting. I'm like, this is so ethereal. I needed to be grounded to give evidence on this. But I'm gonna, okay, that's all I have. I try to listen to Rini. I'm gonna tap into what spirit presents himself. Okay, sure. I feel that your father had a lot of influence in his town. Would you understand that?
In a
Like
way,
people
yeah.
would come to him.
Yes,
Like
yes,
I feel that, and I feel that your mother was also religious. Do you understand that?
yes.
But it wasn't, am I, am I breaking?
Sorry, turn your video off, Joanne. Okay.
Oh,
Do you
once
read it?
again.
Yeah, spirit's messing with you.
Okay. Okay. And which is really interesting. Okay, sure. I see your mother. Like she is like my mother was Catholic at one time. She would go to the church and she would kneel. Your mother is like has a cushion, like a cushion, and she's on her knees and like praying. Would you like well what I call prayer, you know? Would you understand your mother to do that? That's why I get this image of your mother the way
Yeah, I can
she
understand.
would
Yes.
pray. Oh, thank you. There's a long delay. Um, and oh, okay. What I feel that you are being guided by your father. And I feel that, but it's so interesting, sure. And I don't want to sound so wacky, but I feel that um, there is higher beings leading you. Like I see these robed, I would say people or spirit behind you, guiding you. Would you understand that? That you are connected to these spirit beings.
I understand.
It's
Yes.
so ethereal, but this is what I'm getting. Okay, because it's so interesting how this all evolves and how we get different readings. So, and with that, it's I feel like in a sense that they're giving me that, but it's just validating. I know you know this, but it's a validation of it. And I don't know if you can hear me because it's freezing
I
up
can
so
hear you.
badly.
I can hear you.
Oh, can you? Okay, thank you. And now your father's stepping forward and he is it's interesting. I feel your energy is very similar to your father. Would you understand that?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
I feel like he's very calming presence. Um, he, he's coming forward and he is handing me something, but I'm trying to figure out what he's handing me. And I feel this is really interesting because I'm asking for evidence and it's more symbolism than I feel like than evidence. But it's like he's handing you, I'm hearing all weird things. Um, was your father an oracle also? Did he also was able to tap into spirit?
He was connected. Yeah.
He was connected. Okay, so that's what I'm feeling. Okay, so he's like, it's sort of he's passed that on to you. That's what I'm feeling.
Okay.
And there's a long pause here. I feel like, oh my goodness, this is like I really do believe that spirit is really messing with this connection. And I'm gonna have to step back because I think that's all he wants to say. And it's so powerful. And this is really weird. I haven't, it's another level of reading. And I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna step back and just leave that with you
Okay.
because the internet is really messing up and I don't even know if you're accepting this. And
Oh, I'm accepting
okay.
everything. Everything.
I'll leave their love with you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my father. Yeah, both have my personality is similar to his, and he was deeply connected, deeply, deeply. Uh, he got help when he needed, without realizing. He went through things without knowing how he went through, but like he was taken care of at some points uh, of his life. Yeah, he was guided. The robes that you mentioned, they're very significant. So he believed in what we believe in a saint who wore robes, orange robe. And yeah, kneeling, praying was the standard way of praying at that time. It's good that he's guiding me, the saint, as well as my dad, as well as my mom, I guess. They're all cahoot with the training of me. So
Oh
thank you.
my gosh. Joanne, that was so interesting.
mhm.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think he's still with you because now you're frozen again. So turn your video off. There you go. Okay.
Well,
So for the benefit, first of all, before I even ask Joanne what I want to talk to her about, I want to explain to our YouTube audience that lately we've been having a lot of problems with spirit interfering with Joanne's internet connection while she reads. Okay. And it's funny because you can go back and you can look on the channel on our prior episodes, and Joanne's connection is fine until she brings that spirit in, and then all of a sudden this kind of thing happens to her. And we've talked about it in the past, okay, with spirit interfering with the electrical connections, but I'm just gonna kind of laugh about it and say, so watch Joanne for the duration of this broadcast and see what happens to her internet connection, because I think right now this spirit is still with her. What?
oh my
That
God.
spirit apparently did not like me talking about her. So, okay. I know we're laughing. So, so, if need be, if you see yourself freezing up, Joanne, turn your video off. But what I wanted to ask you actually was had to do with the way that you presented your information, because initially and I'm trying to explain this to like newer mediums or sitters, okay, about a style thing. So what happened was initially you were seeing things, okay,
Mhm.
like you saw a vision, okay, and then you said later in the reading, I feel your father stepping in. Okay. But you
Mhm.
saw those things first. Now,
Mhm.
I know that that is not the way that your readings work all the time, because I've heard you say, I feel your father stepping in or your mother stepping in or whatever. So can you explain to our YouTube audience like the difference between um, seeing things versus seeing the person, if you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm not sure she has any audio.
Poor Joanne.
Poor Joanne.
Yeah, I hope this internet, I hope we can. Oh my goodness. Um, so yeah, so I'm going to try to speak very quickly. I vividly, and I
Turn the
typically
video
know
off.
who to go, but time it was like image. I'm like image, and I wrote like I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, this is odd. And then I saw actually Sher's mom kneeling, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm connected to Sher, but what does this all mean?
Okay.
Oh, what does it all mean?
The vision. Okay.
And I still, it was interesting how it presented itself. It was, and then yeah, but I also felt it was a higher presence. Um,
Even than a
yeah,
regular spirit, more
that's all
so
I
than a
can
regular
say.
spirit.
This has gone.
Yeah, that's like a
Yes,
visitation from extended
exactly. Hmm.
ascended master. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this was kind of interesting because I don't think, we've really ever highlighted that style of reading before on this channel. So I'll swing over to you, Shore, and ask you kind of the same question. Have you ever had a reading like that where you see things first and you don't really see a person? You just see things.
Yeah. Most, well, it's different with every reading. Yeah, sometimes I'm just put in a field uh, or farmland, and then the story builds, then start seeing other people. But there is always a feeling of who who would be around. So yeah, it's all always different way the information comes. Sometimes the background, um, the theme of the reading, and then people show up, or sometimes just it's the first thing that the person shows up and gives me the feeling about what they were like.
Okay. So what you're saying is that, the information's always relevant. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Regardless of
Yeah.
whether it's a person or it's a thing. It
Yeah.
you know, it does
Right.
take time to develop the story. Okay. That makes sense to me. How do you feel about it, Renee? Do you have readings where you get things first?
Yes, it's kind of funny sometimes because most of my readings are visual, so they'll show me what they look like. But there's times when they come in and they don't show me them at all, but they'll show me like even today, like with your mom, she came in showing me sheet music that said "Joy to the World," and then I could hear music from a piano playing,
Mhm.
and she was showing me all these different things before she let on who she was, and then I felt like mother or grandmother energy, but she gave me a lot of detail first before she even told me who she was.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll throw out a weird thing that happened to me in a reading, and I didn't understand it, and then the medium explained it to me. But for the whole reading, I saw the spirit from the neck down, and I did not see his head. And like I didn't get the sense that he had been beheaded. Okay, but
Wow.
I had no idea why I could not see his head. Okay, so I'm describing this guy, and it was funny because as mediums, like, what do you do with this? You kind of panic, okay. And so I could tell, like, I was at a music festival and there was like all kinds of shall we say substances in the air, this kind of thing. Okay. And I described, his jeans and his boots and all of this stuff. And the sitter said to me afterwards, it made sense to me that he didn't show you his head because he was very ashamed of his teeth.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So I can't, explain why these things happen. I just, know that this is the way that spirit wants to come in, and we all.
And sometimes, like Joanne said, she couldn't figure out. Sometimes we're not supposed to figure out. Just give the details to the
Right.
sitter and let them figure out, or they will know. Sometimes you say one or two words that don't make sense to you, and you put it out there, and they're like, "I understand that. You don't have to say anything else."
Right.
And you're thinking, "What the heck does that mean?" Waiting for that feedback to come in.
Oh, gosh. All right, sure. Are you feeling it?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to throw in something on the last piece. So one time we were in a class reading each other's, and we were scribbling as well at the same time. So when I was just letting the pen loose and draw whatever it drew, what I drew was it looked like a foot, but the lines went where the toes should be beyond the page. So I just said during the reading, I have a lady who lost her toes. And immediately the person took that information because of diabetes, the toes had to be taken off. So it's just amazing the way the information comes. It's incredible. It's incredible. So we may not understand, but the sitter does.
Interesting.
Okay. I feel I have an aunt here, and she would be related to you in an in-laws manner, and she feels more on the paternal side. And she was very conscientious of her looks, and there was yeah, there was something not that she was proud of from the looks perspective, and especially her teeth, like they were kind of constantly visible. And that really made her not too happy, not too happy. And I don't feel she was yeah, I don't feel she was married, but she lived good life. But there were some issues within the family that she was not too happy about, especially again coming back to the looks, her looks, and her conscientiousness of toward that. So people may not have been talking a lot about the looks specifically, but she thought that they were talking more about her looks. So it's a little weird, but so who can understand this lady?
I can understand the
Really?
weirdness.
Wow, wow, wow. And I'm kind of sensing her that she would have lived to her mid 70s. I'm kind of feeling like 76.
I'm not exactly sure how old she was, but it was between that age and 80s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
She would sometimes throw uh, e- emotional tantrums as well. Again, it all boils down to her own inner feeling of how she was being looked at, uh, but others were not paying too much attention.
Exactly.
Okay. And a lot of times she would just storm away from the room if she was getting too emotional or if she was sensing too much. So she was a little touchy and touchy feeling person.
I can't remember that because I was young.
Okay. And I kind of feel that father would have tried to make her like forget about it. But some things are just not easy to let go.
Yeah, I can understand that with him.
And so he had a specific way of calming her down, like take her out, be it for uh, ice cream or sh- sherbet or something. Just taking her out, letting her be herself, and just calm down. And she did calm down with him.
Yeah, she was close with her dad.
Yeah. So when there were emotional bursts, she would say things that would surprise everybody else. Uh, it was like blaming others how they were
Yeah,
treating her.
yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody around her is looking at her in amazement, but not saying much because they respected her. They respected her in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of sense that there is an element of depression
Yes, I can
with her.
understand
Okay.
that.
So they would let everything slide when she was not herself. So
Mm-hmm.
they understood her,
Mm-hmm.
but she did not understand folks around.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
Okay. But she understands now. It's a little bit too late, but she just wants to make amends because she has come to peace with the way things went, and she owns up to her behavior, but she understands that there was still love around for her, and she should not have felt the way she did. But when things are deep inside, not balanced, not resonating with your own spirit, things happen. And this is where things go awry. And being understanding and still showing love to that person going through this feels like emotional trauma, maybe from past life, is the best thing you could do. Again, it's coming down to love and no judgment. And so behind all this, there feels like a message for you to and not to ignore somebody who is going through emotional turmoil. You're not too judgmental, but don't turn away from the person who is going through some negative environment, negative thoughts, sending negative vibes. This other person, still being close to this person will benefit her as well as you, because you don't want to lose this person. Would you understand that?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
Okay. So this is what she has come to say. Not to worry too much about looks, and you have the power to look deeper inside to see what the person is, what they're going through, and you can be their better friends. So I'm gonna stop here, leave you with her love and blessings.
Well, thank you, Shore, for that. That was my mom's sister. And at a young age, and I don't know at what age, but a younger age than expected, she had all her teeth pulled. So she wore false teeth. So she was always like making herself like the highlight of the party. Like she would have too much to drink and she would take the teeth out. And everybody would be laughing. And my mom would be like, put your teeth in and leave them in, you know. But there was some issues around money. She got into trouble and borrowed money from her father. So he gave her a large sum of money. And when it came time to read the will, he subtracted that from her amount. And she was mad. She wanted everybody else to give her money for theirs because she didn't receive that. So when nobody did, she got mad at everybody and wouldn't talk to anybody, especially my mom. And my mom was so hurt because they were so close all their life. So I can relate that to my sister because my sister doesn't talk to me either, and I can't figure out why. At least my mom kind of had a inkling of why her sister, wasn't talking to her, but it wasn't her fault, you know. So I can understand her saying now that she understands and talking about forgiveness and trying to overlook whatever they're carrying because you don't want to be in judgment of them. So that totally makes sense. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting on so many levels. And where do we start with that? But I'll tell you where I want to start, and that has to do with the idea of an apology coming through in a reading. Okay. And to me, like that, I think is just fascinating because, like in my experience, you know, I think that's healing, for a sitter to receive information, okay, about an apology. But sure, can you back up to the apology and explain what that felt like to you and how you knew that that spirit was remorseful for her actions?
Yeah, I just felt like I'm that person, and I'm getting those feelings that I should be. I'm apologetic, so I'm literally becoming her.
Mm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all the feelings that she wanted to convey are already superimposing on my aura. I'm
Yeah.
feeling that, yeah, that I should be apologizing. I should be saying that she is apologizing.
Aw.
Okay. All right.
That's
Well,
ironic because I was just thinking of her last week in the relationship between her and my mom, and my relationship between me and my sister, and knowing how hurt I am that my sister won't reach out. My mom was the same way because her sister wouldn't reach out, you know. So it was kind of ironic that she came through with that detail.
okay. Well, Joanne, have you had that come up in a reading where the spirit has apologized to your sitter for something?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I've received that, you
That
know.
was the second question I was going to ask. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh,
can you talk about that a little bit?
especially if you've had it was a dysfunctional relationship prior that them leaving, spirit will come forward and apologize for what they did because obviously they can, we're still here. That, they've left their bodies, they don't have to deal with all this stuff and they want to apologize. It's for our healing while we're here. And if we can accept that apology, move on, that's awesome, you know. But I do feel it can be very healing if the person accepts it, the apology. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to flip this around a little bit, okay,
Mhm.
and ask if anyone has experienced spirit evading a medium because they owe the sitter an apology and they're too ashamed to do it. And the reason that I'm asking is I've had that experience where, um, it was a husband who left his wife in uh, basically totally fraudulent financial situation that she had no knowledge about. Okay. And, she was hoping to have him come in and he just refused. And it was funny because we thought afterwards that, maybe at this point, like he has not evolved spiritually enough to man up and apologize. Okay.
Mm.
Which is kind of like the flip side to what we're talking about here. So has anybody else run into that type of thing?
I've connected with spirit sort of by reading their essence and who they were here. Um, because if I don't really get a sense of who they were here, the sitter doesn't understand who I'm bringing forward, right?
Right.
But I've never, I can't recall a time. Well, yeah, I do. The spirit was still very similar to how they were when they were here. And I didn't get another like a shift or energy or apology or anything, just presenting themselves and how they were in this lifetime. And they wanted to make that very clear, and I felt that. And the person understood that, but there was no apology to that. Yeah.
Even though an apology was owed. Isn't
Yeah.
that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll throw it out to the group. Okay. Does this mean that like some spirits take more time to evolve spiritually than others do? I'll throw that out
That's
to you, Sure. You're the person.
yeah, that's probably the case. They still need further evolvement, further understanding of how they affected others. So they have more learning. So, like we are learning in our lives till the end, they are learning on the other side too.
Okay.
So, especially if it is a fresh transition, then as Joanne said, they would carry the same persona about themselves. But with time, there would be more understanding, more evolvement, more more getting closer to God, so to say. That comes in and changes their whole whole thinking, whole persona, because they understand this, begin to understand how they truly affected others while they were here. Once that understanding kicks in, then all the apologies come in time. Yeah, this has happened to in my readings as well. Like some mom, she at the end of the reading said she is apologetic, but not. So she's in transition state still. So she had still ways to go to ascend herself to deeper understanding, deeper love, before she could come back and say, I'm truly sorry. And also it comes back to the sitter as well. If the sitter truly needs this apology so that they can continue with their lives, they from the other side would do that sooner. So again, comes back to what is needed at this time.
So it's almost as if like there's a process involved on the other side where they have to work to achieve a state of grace, if I understand you.
Yeah,
Correct.
they have to keep improving.
Keep improving.
Ultimate goal is the full love, compassion. How close you are to that, and that's truly the God,
which is God, which is God. Okay. Oh, you know, I'll tell you guys a thing that came up in one of my readings on, shall we say, soul reformation. But I was giving a woman a reading, and I said I had a spirit there who felt to me like the Reverend Jim Jones. And she was so young that she didn't know who the Reverend Jim Jones was. So I had to explain it to her, and I said, you heard that expression, I'm not drinking your Kool-Aid. That's where that comes from. Okay. And, so I walked her through that. But long story short, the spirit came in, and as I was doing the reading, he was just an arrogant jerk, a musician, okay, and just so full of himself and all of this. And then, and so this was the road that I was going down, okay. And then the spirit said to me, tell her what happened when I crossed over. And I was like, okay. And so I said to the sitter, he wants me to tell you what happened when he crossed over. Do you want to hear this? And she said, yes. And so the spirit told me that when he crossed over, he was met by someone that he referred to as the faceless entity. Okay. And the faceless entity asks him, well, how do you think you did on the earth? And the spirit said, we did great. I'm Superman. Okay. And the spirit takes him and points his finger at this pile of bodies in the room. And the spirit looks at it and goes, I don't know anything about that. And the faceless entity reached into this pile of bodies, pulled out one, and shows him that it's his former bandmate. Okay. And here, the spirit that I had brought in had got the bandmate addicted to drugs, and he died of a drug overdose. Okay. And spirit actually said to me that the faceless entity showed him a video. That was the word that he used, a video of the first time that he had introduced the band member. They were backstage, and he said, here, take one of these. This will make you feel really good. And he was replayed that moment in his life. Okay. And then the faceless entity reached into the pile, okay, and pulled out another body. And here it's the bandmate's girlfriend. Okay. And once the bandmate had got addicted to drugs, he got the girlfriend addicted to drugs. Okay. And so the faceless entity went and connected these hands together. And long story short, they went through this entire pile of bodies and built what the spirit called a matrix of bodies, connecting the hands and showing how all of these people were connected and how they died because of him. Okay. And it was so interesting because after saying that, he did a 180 on me, and he came out and he was just in shock, complete shock, because while he was on the earth plane, like he clearly had no concept of the fact that he had done this much damage, and he got slapped in the face with it on the other side. And it was really interesting because I said to my sitter at that point in time, I said, the sense that I get from him is that he is so overwhelmed right now. Like he's still processing and trying to come to terms with the damage that he did. And so my point for our YouTube audience of telling you, the story is that, like, when they cross over, they're all in different phases of evolution. I think, maybe the people who don't like have a lot of time, as compared to maybe somebody who's bedridden, they have some time to look over their life and, apologize to people and things like this. And then there are other people who go quickly and they find themselves up there suddenly, and they're in a different, place than, those people who
It
take a
sounds like the Scrooge.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Scrooge.
yeah, that's it was a, and it's funny because, like, I don't remember most of my readings, and that one I cannot get out of my head. It's just I actually set the intention to forget everything that I've read, but that one, man, that one just like will not go away. It was shocking. But I think I was meant to remember it because I think it's a soul lesson too. For me. So, but anyway, enough talking. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can grab a spirit here for us.
I just want to say my internet is stable now.
Yeah, I know.
Well, ever since I stopped reading.
Isn't that funny how that works?
About 20 minutes ago or whatever more.
Yeah, yeah. You bring in all that giant energy coming in. Yep, yep. All right. Let's see who we have here. Da, 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 da. All right. Okay. I'll tell you what I'm looking at is a Waffle House. If everybody is familiar with the restaurant, the Waffle House. Okay. And when I look into the Waffle House, I feel like my sitter was there after some excessive partying. Maybe not excessive partying, general partying, let's put it that way. And you went to Waffle House for some food, and there's a female here. and the female is somewhat intoxicated. So is this resonating with anybody? Waffle House and an intoxicated lady? No? Okay.
I'm listening.
Oh, you're listening, Renee?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What parts of this can you take, Renee?
I can take the Waffle House and the woman that's intoxicated.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. See where this goes.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see where this is going to go.
Okay. This is kind of interesting, okay, because this, we're talking about reading styles today and whatnot. This
Yeah.
actually seems to be like a moment in time. And at this point in time, she feels like her emotionally kind of like on a seesaw is the word that I'm going to use, okay, because at one point she's like happy and intoxicated, and then on the other side, she is not happy at all. She's got a lot of stress. So do you understand this emotional seesaw with
Yeah.
this woman? Okay. I just had the name Greg pop in. Is there a Greg in this scenario at all?
Yeah.
If not, don't worry about it. I'm just
I'm
gonna.
not thinking of one offhand, but that doesn't
Okay.
mean one doesn't exist.
Okay, that's all right. I just said it because it popped in there. So okay. But I want to go back to the emotional seesaw. And I'm gonna say it that when you go down to the bottom side of this, she's actually crying.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Um, and and this seems to be related to a male. And I'm going to say male, and also there's it's a combination thing, male and financial stress around this woman. Okay, would you understand her having
Yeah.
problems with a man and also problems with finances? And
Yeah.
they all seem to be caving in on her at once. Okay. So she's talking about your presence here. Talking about you being her support, uh, like a shoulder to cry on for her. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I can understand that. Mhm.
Okay. Uh, she's referring to this as being one of the darkest times in her life. Okay. Was this day at the Waffle House. You understand that?
I'm not in particular of that date.
Okay. All right. Okay. Um, were you aware that there's domestic abuse involved here?
I think there was. I think
Okay.
there was.
Yeah. Okay. So for the benefit of our YouTube audience, okay, when something unpleasant comes up in a reading, as it just did, okay, I don't dwell on that.
Right.
And I just say it to Renee so that, she understands that it's evidence. Okay. But I just move on from that, to kind of explain, like why this woman is where she is mentally. Um, Does she have a son, this woman?
No, but always, always, always comes in with the sun. I don't know why. Always does.
Really?
Yes.
We'll talk about that afterwards. Okay. Yeah, because she's here with this son. Okay. Okay. I feel like I want to move on to a happier time,
Yeah.
actually, because this is kind of depressing. Okay, let's see if we can get her out of here. Um, okay, so I asked her to push forward a
Mhm.
couple of years, and she did. Okay. And, you know, so when I push forward a couple of years, then um, it feels to me like she's on a much more even keel than
Mhm.
she was before. You know, she's not only financially stable, but she's actually doing pretty well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
okay. And I'm hearing new man. Do you have a new man at that
Yes.
point?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's a new man in her life at that point. Okay. Um, and you approved of the
Oh,
new man?
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
You approved of the new man.
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Okay. All right.
We all did.
I just laugh at the things they share. Oh my God.
We all did. She knew
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right. So everybody approved of the new man. Okay. Good, good move. And she's showing me actually that uh like it and I have to be careful how I word this because I do not feel that this woman was materialistic. Okay. However, what she is showing me is things, okay, that like I don't feel like she had before in the previous life. And the way that I'm trying to communicate this is I feel like there's like a level of comfort in
Yes, I
her life that she
understand that.
didn't have
Yes. Yes.
before.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. It's
Yep.
not material. Okay.
Right.
It's just comfort.
Yes,
Okay.
I understand it. Yes.
Okay. Uh, she ride motorcycles that you know of?
No, I
No idea. Okay. Um, Give me something Rainy knows. I actually feel like this woman was intuitive. Now, the more I
Yes,
connect.
she was. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going to lean into that. Okay. And would you have known her to fool around with tarot cards?
I think at times she did.
Okay. All right. My time is winding down here. I'm going to grab a message. Okay, so her message for you, and and the message is coming from the perspective of being in the happier place, not in
Mhm.
the bad place.
Mhm.
Okay, which is good. Okay, but her message to you is that she wants to thank you. Okay, for kicking her in the. Okay, we don't swear in circle. Okay, but you apparently kicked her in the. Okay, and she wants to thank you for that, and she says that you gave her the courage to get out of that situation. She's saying that she never would have thought it was possible um, to be that happy when she's in the new place. She wouldn't
Right.
have
Right.
thought it was possible at that point in time.
Mhm.
But she's so glad and so grateful that you motivated her to move on. Okay, I'll leave you that with light and love, and thank you for letting me serve spirit.
That was spot on because the beginning of her life, she was married and there was a lot of drugs and alcohol involved, and it was not good. And I don't know at what point, but she finally left the situation. And down the line, she met someone, and he was just wonderful to her and her children. And we all loved him, and her finances got better, and she was actually doing better than she was in the beginning
Yeah,
having a husband.
yeah,
She did she did very well for herself. And she was comfortable, but she never bragged about it. And she helped everybody. If you actually walked into her house and said, "Oh, what's that?" you went home with it. That's
gee,
how grateful she was,
wow,
for her life. So
wow,
she really changed her life around. So
wow,
that makes
wow,
sense.
wow. Well, I have to ask you, I'm just kind of curious, okay, when you said she always comes in with the sun, but she didn't have one. Any
No,
thoughts about
and when you said that, I'm like, why is she always coming in with a son? And she never had a son. And I don't know, maybe she lost one and never said anything.
that? Okay.
I don't know. But as you said that, the thought came to me, I lost a son, and I'm wondering now that she's on the other side, maybe she's taking care of my young son that I lost.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
that
oh,
would be my only correlation. And
oh,
the times it came through, I never thought of that until just now.
okay.
So that could be what it is. She's taking
Okay.
care
All
of my
right.
son.
That kind of makes sense then. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and for the benefit of our YouTube audience, and talking about how sitters react, you know, to readings, you know, a sitter who was not open-minded would have said, she doesn't have a son, and leave it
Mhm.
at that. And, you know, Rainey is looking at it from a different perspective. You know, what does she mean when she's coming in with a son? You know, what does that mean? And, you know, so one might be that, you know, she has lost a child, okay, somehow, you know, or that she's taking care of Reenie's son. So that's why I think it's kind of important to stay open-minded about that. But have
Mhm.
you run into that situation, Joanne?
I have. And then later on, they realized who I was bringing forward. That happened.
After the fact.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's okay.
And that's happened to me too, like information.
Uh-huh.
No, no, no. And then it dawns on you. I'm like, oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
know. So, and when, I mean, it happens to us as mediums. We're giving the information to them, and we know as mediums, this is the information that Spirit's given us, and the sitter can't take it.
Uh-huh.
No, no. And then it dawns on them, oh, yeah. So it happens to us too all the time. But I do believe that when you're open, when you come to get a reading, you'll get a really great reading rather than being closed off. Um, I normally don't read for people who are very, you know, questioning every aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's not my intention to read for people, but you know, I'm not, my whole thing is I'm not here to prove to you that I can connect to spirit. I know I can connect to spirit.
Right.
So I'm like, I know there are mediums who want to do that. They can go to them, but I know I'm connecting to spirit. Whether I'm getting the information correct, that's another story. Sometimes our interpretations are off, right? Or how we're receiving or perceiving it. So when a sitter says no, that's good. You sort of lean into that and you're like, okay, so what was that? Um, but yeah, this has been really, I've been quiet here, being that the internet just sort of like threw me off as I'm
I
reading.
was just going to say, you know, that's just so funny because, you know, yes, I think your internet issue is how you show people you are connected to, um, you know, spirit because it gives you so much difficulty only when you're reading, you know. So
Yeah, which is not fun. I mean, that was the worst, but I really do believe, sure, these are like higher beings. Like,
yeah,
yeah, in the way they showed themselves, this is, and they were robed, and I saw three, and I'm like, okay, what does this mean to sure?
Yeah,
And
well,
I And then I saw your father step forward, and I'm like, okay, at least I have someone that I sure can connect with because I try to have it grounded. I don't want to be so like, oh, I see a fairy and it's float, like I want it to be grounded. And then but I needed to lean into it because this is what spirit was giving me. And then sure enough, I lost, I couldn't relay it because the internet was really messing up, but I really wanted to lean into that. But anyway, I'm
yeah,
glad.
but I understood everything really because I
Okay.
believe in the same saint, so it's continuing through our
Y-
lives.
Yes, but anyway. And I could barely hear you when you were giving me feedback because I was glitching
Oh,
the whole time. And I left about two or three times and got back on. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Today's been an interesting day, but I mean, everyone had a great reading.
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know about
I
myself.
no, your reading was great. Come on, you know, yeah, absolutely,
I couldn't give
absolutely.
much, but
But
I'm sure.
what you brought was very significant, very
Okay.
important to me.
Okay. Okay. Well, spirit knows best.
And working. working with the higher energies is not that easy either.
No. Wow. They
You,
were
you were
wild.
able to.
I
You were
agree,
able to.
Randy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was,
100%.
yeah. I gotta ask spirits sort of so I don't lose connection. I mean, what's the what's the purpose of being a medium and I can't give the information if I'm being
Yeah.
interrupted? But yeah, it's very significant there too, I guess.
Mhm.
That's all I give you, sure.
That was important for me. Yes.
Okay.
And that electrical interference is a real thing. You know, I have a medium friend who walks down the street and street lights explode when he walks underneath them, you know, because he sends off so much energy. So he has to be careful to, you know, avoid the street lights. So,
Yeah.
Her
Yeah.
dad happened to too. She was all wound up about going to a spiritual class, and she walked into the hotel room, and every light in the hotel room went out. She had to get out and say, "I have no lights," and they're like, "What? They're all working." And they're not now.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Wow.
cracking up when she told that.
oh my gosh. Oh, well, the mysteries of
Yeah.
mediumship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, congratulations, guys. I think that's another great session. Thank you to our YouTube audience for joining us. If you liked what you saw here today, we'll be back online next Saturday, same time, same channel. Hit like and subscribe, and you'll be notified automatically of when we come online. And I'm going to go ahead and close this down with a prayer. If everyone would join me, please. Holy Father, Mother God, thank you for allowing us to serve you in spirit this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to demonstrate to others your unlimited patience, abiding light, and infinite love. Bless our friends and loved ones and protect them from sickness, harm. Bring joy into the lives of people who have sorrow, health into the lives of people who have illness, and abundance to the lives of people who have little. Thank you for the lessons that you have given us today. And above all, thank you for allowing us to be the lights that serve you forever. Amen.
Oh man. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. All right. We will see you next time. Same channel. Bye bye now.